Hi everyone, today I have another ScrawlrBox. This is box number 116. ScrawlrBox is an art subscription box from the UK, so it takes a little bit longer to get to me because I'm all the way in Australia. ScrawlrBox is a monthly art subscription box full of mystery art supplies, a really informative zine that gives you a breakdown on all the supplies plus a bunch of tips and tricks. It's curated by a different artist every month. So we get to see the insights into their process as well and find out why they chose these supplies. And we also get a prompt to inspire us to make art with the particular supplies. So I'm going to unbox the box. This will make sense when you see what's inside. I'm going to review the supplies and make some art. So let's go. Okay, for some reason my audio didn't record when I filmed the unboxing, so I'll have to do a dramatic reenaction voiceover. Now, the first thing I noticed when I opened the box was this little sticker on the package that says Stuart Semple. And this is a name that I know because I have Stuart Semple's watercolor palette. And I've actually been randomly using this a lot lately in my sketchbook. And I love the bright colors. The pigments are incredible in this watercolor set. So I was very, very excited because I have not tried Stuart's acrylic paints and I've heard so much about them. So we have 3 pouches here. We've got the brightest white, black 4.0, which is super famous. I'm going to talk about that later. And the Easy Klein blue, which is also now notorious. And I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So I'm really excited to try these paints because I have never been able to afford them. And I love the watercolor palette, so I'm excited. We also have a little business card here. And there's 3 QR codes on the back. Unfortunately, as I'm recording this voiceover, I don't know what I've done with it, so I cannot tell you what they are. I'm so sorry. Why didn't the audio record? Anyway, we also have this little pouch of pink pigment powder, but for some reason I didn't want to open that just then, and we're going straight to the paintbrush, which is gorgeous. I don't have a flat brush like this size in my collection, so I was very, very excited to have this to play with. It's beautiful. It's a number 16 synthetic bristle brush, very good for acrylic paints. And then we also have our little sticker, which is a section of the art print as it is every month. And we have our little candy, which is mint. Then we've got our surface, which is an A5 pad of hot pressed watercolor paper. 10 sheets, 200 GSM, pretty smooth surface. And then we have our cute little art print. So we haven't used the blue in this painting, this artwork by Stuart, but we've got the very graphic black, white and pink. And that's Stuart's socials and info. And then we have our ScrawlrZen with our blackest black cover. So let's have a quick flick through. We've got the contents of the box laid out here. I'm loving this graphic style and this color palette. What am I pointing to there? A pop of pigment, the brightest of pinks that is really going to pop against a monotone background is what that says. We have a sit down with our featured artist. I'm going to tell you a lot about Stuart's story during the voiceover of the artwork because it's very interesting. And then we have tips and tricks on how to use the supplies. Different blending. Oh yeah, adding water to the powder pigment to make a paste that we can paint with. A deep dive into using Culture Hustle paint, and I'm also going to tell you about why this black paint is so special. It's not just an ordinary black paint. We've also got artist's advice and Stuart's tips, and then we have the Scrawler Gallery from box 114, which was the box with the acrylic paints and the like plastic credit card to paint with. I loved that box. So congrats to all the top artists. And then we've got the Scrawler Challenge, the Roundup, which is a look at some of the past artworks made from past boxes. And then a page on Culture Hustle, revolutionizing creativity, which I'll also tell you a little bit more about later on. And then we have Pushing Boundaries, a page on some artists who have challenged societal norms. And our prompt is Ripple Effect. I decided to use my paper palette because I knew, especially with the pink pigment and the white and the black, I'd be doing a lot of mixing. So I thought having this big surface would be good for swatching out and using these paints. So they've got a little seal on top of the tube. So I just got a pair of tweezers, pair of old tweezers, and just pulled that seal off so we could get access to the paint. And then once you screw the lid back on, it comes out of the little opening. The blue lid popped off and left blue paint all over my desk, but that's fine. That's all part of paint in the studio. Now, while this is a limited color palette, there's quite a lot we can do with it because we have black and white, so we can change the values of everything and get quite a lot of variation. So first of all, I just swatched out the blue and added some black to it, and I decided to play around a little bit with the opacity, adding water to see what that did to it, and adding white to the blue to get more pastel shades. And then I thought, you know what, let's open up this pigment and hope that Echo does not jump onto my desk right at this moment, because I thought that would be an absolute disaster. Luckily, she was napping in the other room and didn't bother me. But look at this beautiful pink pigment. So it's very, very fine. And you're going to have to be very, very careful with it because it'll get messy. I added some water to it and I noticed it got a lot brighter as I added water, but I was sort of struggling to get a texture that I wanted, and it was still not very opaque. So I just mixed some paint into it, a little bit of black, a little bit of the blue, and I got this amazing purple, like lilac shade, and mixed it with a bit of the white and got this beautiful pastel pink. So I was really vibing with this color palette. I really, really liked this. And that black, opaque, super black, light absorbing paint is gorgeous. Now with the art subscription boxes, I do like to use only what's provided in the box, but I did use one of my own pencils just to sketch out a portrait. So I had some kind of guideline. As I mentioned, I have Stuart Semple's watercolor palette, which I love for its rich pigmented paints. And I also have his black ink, which is called Blink, which is also great, but unfortunately the lid is stuck and I can't open it, like I can't twist it open anymore. So if anyone has any tips, can you please let me know? Because I would really love to use it again. I first heard of Stuart because of his black paint. Famously, Stuart has been on a mission to create the blackest black paint, with Black 4.0 being the fourth, of course, iteration of the paint. And this journey began after Stuart heard that artist Anish Kapoor had obtained the exclusive rights to the blackest material ever made, called Vanta Black. Stuart believes that art and colours should be accessible to everybody, and he started his site Culture Hustle, and the rest is history. It is part performance art, part protest. It got a crazy amount of attention, and I'm so stoked to finally be able to try this paint for myself. Like, it's so light absorbing that if you paint a 3D object with it, it just is flat, black, nothingness. It's wild. So in addition to the blackest black in this box, we also have the brightest white, the pinkest pink, and Easy Klein, a blue modeled after Yves Klein's famous blue pigment, which was a decade in the making. Stuart took a decade to formulate this exact blue. And this blue paint has very recently, like I literally got emails just weeks ago, recently coming to the news as Klein's estate is suing Stuart over the usage of the name and the recreation of a photo, which I'll talk about in a minute. So interestingly, when you look at the Easy Klein packaging, I'll pop it here, it's very recognizably modeled after a different Klein, and that is Calvin. And all of this is sort of precisely why Culture Hustle even became a thing. Stuart had posed for a photo with his hand painted in the blue paint, styled after a very famous image of Eve from 1961, and a lawsuit was filed against Stuart by Eve's widow and son. Stuart, as I said, believes that everyone should have equal access to colours and that their use should not be controlled by any person or company. But the lawsuit claims that Stuart has infringed on the copyright of Eve's work. What do you think about all this? Should he be sued for painting his hand blue, for making a blue paint accessible? Stuart has said that creating the paint was a homage to the artist he considers a hero and a true avant-garde thinker, and this outcome makes him, quote, really, really sad. At the time of recording this, Stuart has trademarked the name International Semple Blue, so it looks like this pouch of Easy Klein I have now may be a rarity in the future. I will just make sure not to paint my hand blue. He's also gotten into trouble with Mattel over his paint Pinky, the Barbiest Pink, and with other products like Tiff Blue, which is a Tiffany blue acrylic, and the newly launched YOLO, which is formulated on a scientific discovery of a brand new color, and it's kind of like a soft aqua shade called Olo, which is not a pigment, but an experience created by firing lasers at a specific cone inside the retina of your eye. Honestly, I read and reread the email when I got the announcement of this paint, and I still don't understand it. But I highly recommend signing up to the Culture Hustle mailing list to keep up to date with what Stuart is cooking. It's all very interesting. He's also created metallics that look like gold and silver leaf when applied, and a neon range, and you know I want to try those. Now let's talk about this pink pigment. I've got to say I would have preferred this in paint form. While it did get a lot brighter as I mixed water into it, I found it difficult to get the texture that I like, that retained the opacity. While the acrylics were so smooth to paint with, I found that I could only get that with the pigment if it was extremely watered down. So maybe I just needed to do several light layers, but I am just not that patient. And it's also pretty messy, and I don't see me using this anywhere near as much as I would if it was a regular paint. I did get it to work for me, though it's a pretty chunky texture to get the depth of colour that I wanted from it. This artwork is a self-portrait, and I took inspiration from the black wobbly lines of the art print to add that into the hair on this piece. And when I was swatching, I loved the colour range that I could get with mixing the pigment with the bright blue paint and the black and white, and I was able to get a good range of values. I only used the brush provided, which is awesome and a welcome addition to my collection, but I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted to grab a smaller brush to paint in the details, but I do like to limit myself to what's in the box, as that's all part of the fun. Now, having a little knowledge of Culture Hustle pricing and their products, I kind of knew this was going to be a very good value box, and I wasn't wrong. I have worked out that the ScrawlrBox each month, including shipping, works out to be approximately $45 Australian each month with a yearly subscription that I have, and this box works out to be $112 value. Whoa. Overall, I'm very, very stoked with this box, and I'll definitely get a lot of use from these paints. What do you think? See how chunky that, it's like a paste? I don't know, it kind of works because it looks different to the rest of the portrait. Hi, Echo. Yeah, very fun box. And thank you to all my Ko-fi members who support me every month. I adore you. You are all the best. Look at all this beautiful texture on this palette. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and consider subscribing to the channel for more art stuff. I actually ended up sticking that piece into my self-portrait sketchbook, so that's another page completed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.